Hey, welcome back to this new video. You asked for and I delivered. Here are the most asked film photography questions I got from you guys. Have fun. Favorite camera for 35 and 120. For me personally, Leica M6 for 35 and Mamiya 7 as a medium format camera. In case you don't know, both are rangefinder cameras, which means that you've got some kind of special focusing system compared to traditional SLRs like a Canon A1 for example. It definitely takes some practice to get comfortable with those kind of cameras, but for me it feels like an extension of myself. I really love shooting with them and taking at least one of them with me every day. Entry-level camera recommendations. Ideally 35mm. My first camera was a Canon AE1. I bought it approximately 3 years ago for about 100 bucks, something like that, with a attached 50mm lens with an aperture of 1.8, something like that. Can't remember exactly. You can't miss with that one, but in general it doesn't matter which one you're going to choose. Just don't buy any point and shoot cameras as your first one if you want to properly learn about photography. It's crucial to set your shutter speed and aperture by yourself. You've got to make mistakes on your way and think on your own to get better. Point and shoots will do all the work for you, which can be nice in some scenarios, but I suggest going for a fully manual camera. Favorite black and white film. At the moment I would say it's HP5 Push by 2 Stop. This will give me those crispy black and white shots with really dark shadows and a lot of contrast. I tried shooting HP5 at box speed before, but it's going to turn out pretty gray and flat. On the other side I still got some Canmere 100 and 400 laying around, which I wanted to shoot in a dedicated video, so stay tuned about that. Light metering. This is a huge topic and I could make a video entirely about it, but I'm trying to give you a little overview, basic overview, something like that. So basically there are 3 different possibilities to meter light. You can either use the internal light meter which comes with your camera, if your camera has one obviously, taking the M6 for reference. When you're looking through the viewfinder, you'll see either 1 or 2 little red arrows. One arrow indicates that your image is either over or underexposed and that you've got to adjust settings like your aperture or shutter speed. 2 aligning arrows means that your image is well exposed. Furthermore, you can use a dedicated external light meter. I'm using the Sekonic Flashmate L308X, what a name. This little thing is built like an old Texas Instruments calculator and costs a fortune. I paid about 180 bucks for it a few years ago, and it's basically doing the same thing as your internal light meter. You've got to set your ISO and either the shutter speed or aperture, and the Sekonic tells you the other value. It comes pretty handy if you mounted your camera on a tripod or if you want some really precise meterings. Third, there are light meter apps on your phone, which have one big advantage over something like the Sekonic. Due to the sensors built in your phone, those apps are handling low light scenarios much better than anything else. If it's too dark, my light meter just tells me that it's not able to get a proper reading, while the app on the phone still works flawlessly. I'm going to link the light meter app I'm using currently in the description below. Recent photographers that inspired you and why? Really nice question. I'm always kind of inspired either by scrolling through some sort of social media timeline or flipping through photo books. Something like this, for example. Cable Art by Joel Meyerowitz. One of my favorite photo books ever. Unfortunately, it's more of the first one, because photo books require you to be present and consciously take the time to fully appreciate them. It's rather difficult to implement something like this in your daily routine. So, what inspired me recently? First, Daniel Kazan. His use of color and overall aesthetic hit me directly in the face. Everything is saturated, rich, and just a joy to look at. And overall, I absolutely love his nature shots, as you know me, especially those forest shots. Second new inspiration is Brandon Burton. If I had to summarize his work in one word, it would be composition. This framing is absolutely insane. In each shot, you're able to spot so many almost hidden gems, and the more you look at them, the more you're drawn into. I absolutely loved this one. How he placed the lamp perfectly, how the contrast of the blue background and warm foreground plays together nicely, and how he framed the boat inside the right window. I could look at this picture endlessly. Last but not least, good old Joe Greer. He's one of my biggest inspirations since I started with analog photography a few years ago. Probably he even was one of those forces that pushed me in that direction. Every time I look at his photos, I'm thrilled to grab my camera and go out for a walk to capture some scenes. In my opinion, he's one of the greatest photographers nowadays, more than that in the film space. And if there's a Joe Greer fan club here in Germany, I would definitely join that. What do you find yourself drawn into photography? If I had to answer this shortly, I would say light. Seeing light is the key what makes the difference from a good photograph to a great photograph, in my opinion. It really gets me excited experiencing a beautiful sunrise, a beautiful sunset, or just light breaking through some trees. Great light is absolutely crucial for me. Favorite focal length, 28mm. Period. I rarely put off my Amarit nowadays. My M6 mostly turned into an analog Leica Q. What glass do you have for your M6? I've got the Amarit 28mm I mentioned before and the Voigtlander 35mm Nocton, which I use way too less. I absolutely love 28mm because it comes closest to how I see the world. Can you give us some insights into your scanning and editing process? I'm thinking about doing an individual video about this in the future because it's a huge one. What I can tell you now, all my film is getting developed by a local lab and I do the scanning for all my 35mm work by myself with a Coolscan VED. That's a 35mm scanner produced by Nikon, and it's such a joy to use this little thing combined with ViewScan as a software. It definitely took some time, but with that combo I'm able to achieve the look I'm searching for. All medium format work is processed and scanned by the lab. I would love to do it myself too, but I've got to sell one kidney at least for a Coolscan 9000. Is photography your full-time job? Nope. It's more like a passion at the moment, but I could imagine that photography pays some of the bills at some time in the future. Who knows? Do you under or overexpose your film, and if so, why? I always tend to overexpose my film. Every time, at least for one stop. It gives the pictures this pastel look we're all looking for, and also film is absolutely forgiving. You're able to overexpose for Portra 400, for example, by at least 4 stops before you're going to see some blown out highlights. Biggest advice, never underexpose. In post you won't ever be able to lift shadows like on digital work. What's dark stays dark. That advice obviously only counts for color film. I wouldn't suggest overexposing your HP5 or Trimax or something like that the way you're doing it with Portra. It results in pretty flat pictures. So go for box speed or feel free to try to push your film next time. With that being said, I hope the video was helpful and I hope you like it. If there are any unanswered questions, feel free to hit me up. Bye.